Hey y'all, welcome back to Allie's Space to Craft, and I'm finally doing day one of Christy's Beautiful Life sketches. You can see here at the top it's got some chevrons, some mixed media in the background, and then some strips of scallop and maybe string and stuff at the bottom. So I'm doing this photo of my daughter with the little group of kids that she taught at a dance camp last week. I have these letters. I'm going to end up not using those letters. In that pack, I didn't have the right letters for the word I wanted to write. So I pulled out some different letters that I ended up even happier with. So I've got this piece of wood grain paper that I'm going to use. I also had these really cool paper clips, but I'm going to start with doing some mixed media. If you guys watch me, you know I don't do this that often, but I decided to try it. I probably didn't need to pre-spray my paper. It got pretty warped, and I tried using, it would have, I needed to have done some gesso on there and stuff like that if I was going to do this technique. I switch over to doing the smushing technique, and that worked better for me. So here I'm struggling a little bit with these watercolors. They're slightly metallic or pearlized watercolors. They're real pretty. I'm trying to use two different colors and leave them a little bit distinct, so it's not just one color. And here I'm using the little packaging technique, and that works much better for what I'm looking for. So I'm using just two of these different colors, and then we're going to just smush that onto the paper. So had I done this to begin with, I wouldn't have needed to spritz down the paper like I did. But that's okay. And now I'm going to add a little bit of this coppery color. And a little bit of a darker brown. So again, two colors, and trying to keep them in separate little puddles so that you get a little differentiation. So I just wanted something a little bit darker. And you can see the pearlescence on there. All right, so I had made, when I made this page kit, I made a template for my chevrons. I will tell you that I could have made, I think I made them 1.5 inches thick. I could have done 2 inches. I could have used a little bit more. And I decided to do it in 3 different colors. And then for that top color is what I used to make this scallop. And it wasn't 12 inches, but I didn't care, because even on the sketch, they weren't all the way across the page. So I had also pulled this ribbon, and I'm just trying to decide what order I want things in. And then I start playing around with the ribbon. On the sketch, it showed it in sort of loop-de-loops. And when I do that, just from the spool, it starts to look like on the sketch. So that's my plan for that. It'll take me a little while to get there. I trimmed the photo up a little bit. I had, you know, some non-content on the sides, and I just didn't want to use up as much of the page with the photo, because it's a different shape than what had on the sketch. And by the way, day one sketch was created by Eve Laurie McKnight. And this was really fun. I think I'd do it again. I might make my chevrons a little bit longer and thicker, just to use up a little bit more of the space. But this would be really fun for a road trip and turn it on its side, for example, to show the arrows going sort of down, the chevrons going down the road. So I think there's just a lot you can do with this. Here I'm playing with these paper clips to see if I can make them work. I end up just using one of them. I use red tape on the back of my ribbon, red line tape I think it's called. It's super strong, it works really well. And now I'm going to play around with the string. I just start making these loops, trying to keep them relatively consistent, but I'm not measuring or anything. I'm kind of winging it. It'll look a little natural. And I'm just adding a little drop of glue at the connection point to keep them together so that I can then glue it down to the page when I get there. So it's just sort of naturally falling into something approximately even, not quite, but it doesn't matter because this is kind of a natural looking element, right? Everything else is pretty geometric. So to have this swirly, softer look is pretty neat. And I was pleased that I figured out how to do this and make it look like the sketch. So I got a little disrupted there. I think my mom came in to visit. She was at my house for a swim. I realized I should have inked this before I put it down, so I'm just lifting it up and getting it inked now. And I'm going to ink all of these, and that's just to help them stand out. And I'm using Vintage Photo, I think, for my ink for this, not my darkest brown ink. I don't know why I'm trying to keep these pieces together to do this, because they weren't glued together or anything. And I'm just staggering these and then trying to figure out where I can put the paper clip without covering up my daughter's face, because she's on that back row. So I like that better. There was a little more space over on that side of the page. And here I'm just doing the same thing. I'm just doing a little drop of glue. I use art glitter glue. It's really quick drying. In fact, I need to order some more. And I just placed a scrapbook.com order and I forgot to include that on there. So I have enough as it is now for about maybe a month, but I'll be ordering some more. So really pleased with that. In the photo. So all these papers were from Stampin' Up, a paper collection, and I had pulled these Fun Stamper's Journey wood little, and I decided to use the stars. She had little hearts on her, some of her string on the sketch, but I had these, so I'm gonna add a few more here and there. And I think that's really cute. It's gonna make, these are pretty thick, so it's gonna make for a pretty thick page, but I'm okay with it. All right, so here's where I look at it and say, oh, I changed title, and that doesn't really stand out very well, does it? So I change gears. I keep all my alphas in on my craft cart beside my desk. And so I'm going to find some green ones. These are glitter thickers or chipboard letters, and I have the right words to write rotten. The name of the camp was Rotten to the Core, and it was based on the Descendants. And so I decide to kind of lean into that. And that stands out better. I love it. And then now I'm just looking at some of these stickers to see if there's anything else that I want to add. I do fuss around with some of these things for a little while. I liked this rainbow. And I have a few little flowers, so I'm just going to add a few flowers. And if my daughter decides to journal, which I doubt, but she can journal on that kind of peachy space below the photo, or along the side on that wood grain would be real easy to journal. And now I'm just gluing down the little stars. And still deciding and switching a few things out. And I think I'm going to do some splatters. They don't show up a lot, but they do add a little dimension. And then we'll do some close-ups. So please give this video a thumbs up. I am trying to do quite a few of Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches. This is my I think 4th or 5th one that I've done, maybe more. And I've got a few more to post as well. So come back to my Space to Craft for more fun stuff. Thanks a lot, you guys.